We have some new reporting from ProPublica that exposes just how much income billionaires are making, according to the IRS, and also just how little in taxes they are paying. They go really deep here. I really encourage you to read the whole report, but let's go ahead and throw this tear sheet up on the screen. The big takeaway is they say, in theory, our tax system is designed to tax the rich at higher rates than everyone else. That is not the way it works at the loftiest incomes. The data reveals a system where the very highest earners, on average, pay far lower tax rates than the merely affluent do. And even among the top 400, some groups have it better than others. Tech billionaires in particular pay rates well below even other business owners. More specifics here, they say on average, the rate of income tax that people pay does climb as incomes ascend. That's a progressive taxation system into the top 1%. But when you get to the range of 2 million to 5 million, that trend stops. The group earning in this range, composed mostly of business owners and workers with extremely high salaries, paid an average income tax rate of 29% from 2013 to 2018. And after that, once you get beyond the $2 to $5 million range, then average tax rates actually drop the further up in income you go. So it's the exact opposite dynamic of what our tax code is supposed to be. Obviously, what it's supposed to be, progressive taxation system, the more income you earn, the more you pay in taxes. What they're saying is that works up to a point, and then above that, the dynamic actually reverses and it's actively regressive, and the more that you earn, the less that you pay.
Yeah, it's completely and utterly insane. You know, I've talked about this here, which is that one of the things that bothers me is that top 1% really actually does miss the mark. I'm not saying I feel deep sympathy for the doctors and lawyers of America. Okay?
Right.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't pay their taxes, but it is complete BS that they pay a far higher tax rate and have far more on top of them than a Warren Buffett, than a Clifford Asness, than all the wealthy tech billionaires here who are paying effective tax rates of 22%, largely because of the way that they carry their wealth on stock, borrow against that. Then when they need to pay back their loans, they sell stock that they've usually held for longer than the period, and they can only pay 15% on that, and then use that to pay back their usually very, very low interest loan and avoid an overall actual income tax event. The name of the game for these people is to never pay tax in the first place.
Well, and let's also be clear, it's no accident that the system is structured that way.
Exactly.
These people have paid to rig it so that it is structured this way. And the wealthier you are, the more likely you are to have influence on our political system. So that's why it's an inverse relationship when you get to the top, where it's the more that you earn, the more loopholes you've been able to secure through our corrupt members of Congress to make sure that you pay next to nothing in taxes ultimately. I also think it's really interesting. They break down who are the top 400 income earners in the country. And they break it down, I mean, specifically by names in a lot of cases, but also by like, how do they make their money? Tech billionaires made up 10 of the top 15 incomes. Their income that they have to recognize with the IRS generally comes from selling stock. About a fifth of the top 400 earners were managers of hedge funds. That was the largest group out of the top 400, was hedge funds made up the largest group. Executives and founders of private equity firms also stood out. And then the other major category was heirs of large fortunes. Among the top 400, there are 11 heirs of Walmart founders, Sam and Bud Walton, and 4 of Amway founder, Richard DeVos. You may know Betsy DeVos, might have heard of her before. So it's also interesting because, you know, I think people tend to have this idea of the wealthiest among us as like, you know, a Bezos or a Musk who are making products and innovating and whatever. Like, obviously, you guys know I have issues with them as well. But in reality, most of these people either inherited their money from mom and dad, or they're just like, you know, engaged in financial wizardry and moving money around and not really creating anything, and oftentimes actually creating a lot of misery among the American public.
I want to focus on that, which is that I have way less with Elon Musk and beef and Jeff Bezos, who created world transformational companies, which added trillions of dollars in wealth to the United States. I still think they should both pay more, but they are not the problem, in my opinion. The real problem are these executive and founders of private equity companies. Private equity adds nothing to the U.S. economy, literally nothing. They make money for themselves and for their already ultra high net worth clients. And what they point to in the ProPublica piece is that the private equity guys are paying the least taxes out of all of the top 400. Why? Because they use the carried interest loophole, which if we just close that, I think it would raise like 8 or 900 billion in a year in tax, because they're able to use carried interest, not treat it as regular income, treat it as interest income, and pay only 15% when they should owe 35 to 40%, all the way up in a progressive taxation system. So the financiers are the people who have actually fleeced the system more than anything. And they add nothing to the economy.
Right.
It's worse. So they become ultra wealthy, and then they pay even less. The other people who I have zero sympathy for in here are the heirs and the heiresses, the 11 members of the Walton family, the DeVos heirs that they point to.
Amway is a total scam.
Look at this.
It's disgusting.
The 11 descendants in the top 400 saved $370 million a year due to a lower dividend tax rate. $370 million. I actually have a ton of respect for Sam Walton, the founder. You know who I don't have a ton of respect for? His grandson, who is just fleecing off of his stock. Look, it's a free country, and hereditary wealth and all of that. I'm not saying it should be illegal, but it's ludicrous that you should be able to be saving this level of wealth when you did jack shit for the U.S. economy.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that they rig the system for, is to make sure that there's basically no estate tax.
Yes.
So buy, borrow, die means you can pass everything forward to your heirs. Nobody ever pays any taxes on it. You end up with this, truly sort of like hardened lines of intergenerational wealth transfer, and it's not really a great thing for a democratic society. Just to put one more statistic in here to think about, because they crunch the numbers on this. Each of the top 11 here averaged over $1 billion in income annually from 2013 to 2018. And that doesn't even scratch the surface of what their overall wealth is. This is just the income that they had to recognize. The typical American would have to work for 25,000 years to make $1 billion. And they made that much just in what they had to recognize every single year. Astonishing. And you wonder why Biden's pollster was telling them, like, why don't you lean into taxing the rich? Like, why are you tiptoeing around actually telling people that these people should have to pay their taxes and have to pay rates comparable to what you, regular American citizen, are paying? But for some reason, they're still too scared of their own shadow to lean into that.
100%.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. More for you later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.